Hello, everybody. Happy New Year and welcome back to the Bundesliga Show. We are here for our first show of 2026, a year in which we hope to just bring more Bundesliga joy for everyone that wants to listen along with us. So, it's been a while, Mark. We've had a bit of a catch up the other day, but it's our first show and first show with everyone else. So how have you been?
Yeah, not bad. First of all, happy New Year to all of you. Obviously, checking in, new, old, to all of you. I hope it's going to be a prosperous year ahead. And yeah, for myself, it's been pretty nice. Obviously, I just mentioned to you, Rory, that it's absolutely freezing over here in Germany. It's a good job those stadiums have got undersoil heating this weekend. Otherwise, I think a lot of games would be getting called off because there's a lot of snow all over the Bundesrepublik. There's been a power outage in Berlin. I don't know if you've heard about that, but like Berlin's in blackout for the last few days. And apparently there's a storm coming towards Nuremberg as well. So yeah, it's already like between -3 and -12. And there's a lot of snow here as well. So yeah, hopefully the weather's not going to get any more extreme. But yeah, definitely looking forward to getting back into Bundesliga action. Obviously, the Zweite Liga is another week off yet, but definitely looking forward to this. And then obviously next week's Englische Woche as well. It's very rare we get an Englische Woche these days, isn't it, in Germany? Seems like every year there's less and less Englische Woche, doesn't it? But looking forward to that as well after this weekend's matches.
Yeah, great way to kickstart this year with loads of Bundesliga footy for us to get stuck into. Yeah, this year, you know, we're going to try and do some different things. Hopefully, you guys all can enjoy it. Some different content as we look to try and get this channel, you know, ever expanded. Thank you to Left Footed for tuning in. Bundesliga 2026, let's go. Yes. Absolutely on board with that. Obviously we're going to now be predicting the outcomes of match week 16 if you've lost count, which is easy to do over the winter break of the Bundesliga. Some cracking games for us, so we're going to work our way through, do some quick predictions ahead of another show this evening, which I will be on with Runa, which is our fantasy football draft edition. So also make sure you stay tuned for that. And also, if you can make sure you like, comment along, and sub to the channel. Just keep on enjoying what we're doing. Right, Mark, first game is Friday night game. Looks like a good game, something that we can all look forward to and enjoy. Let's get kick-started. Frankfurt versus Dortmund. You know, it's a fresh start for everyone, isn't it? Hopefully, like all the teams will go into this weekend with renewed hope, optimism. The form book kind of gets torn up a little bit. Obviously, we know certain teams are at the top or at the bottom. How do you see this one going?
Yeah, well, obviously it's a good game, isn't it? It really is a fantastic game to open the season. As for how it's going to go, I think a lot of it depends on whether Frankfurt, obviously, who they're going to line up in a striking position, because that's been what's been missing since Johnny B, legend of the show, has got injured. They've really struggled in that position. I know that they have brought in someone from Nottingham Forest, Kalimuendo, is it, or something? Yeah, they brought him, and they've also got another difficult match. We've got a few difficult pronunciations coming in. They've got Etalub. Even I'm really not too sure how to pronounce that one, from Elversberg, who, by the way, has been very, very good in the Zweite Liga. So looking forward to seeing if he lines up. I mean, he should be fit and good to go. So, it will be interesting to see if he lines up in this game. I hope they don't just go with Knauf again as a number 9, because I just don't think it works for them at all. I hope they do gamble on one of the two strikers and just say, get out there, give them a chance. As for Dortmund, I mean, it's been a pretty good season results-wise so far this year. I don't feel as though they played particularly like barnstorming football, really, but it's been a good year for them. They look relatively full strength in this game. It is unknown whether Gregor Kobel will play. Apparently, he's gone down with, as with many people at this time of year, he's gone down with illness. I wouldn't be surprised if they get him out there, give him a few paracetamol or whatever and get him out onto the pitch. As for the result, it's a tough one to tip because obviously Frankfurt kind of really faded the back end of 2025 after a strong start. But I've got a feeling if they go out with the big man from Elversberg, that I think Dortmund are in for a shock here. And I'm going to go for you might call it a shock win, but I'm going to go for a 2-1 SGE win here for Frankfurt.
Okay. Well, yeah, well spelled out. I think it'd be interesting, to see how the front line of Frankfurt goes. Obviously, Dortmund got through games without, Guirassy necessarily being on top form for, the Hinrunde so far. So that'll be a big part of the game. I will call a draw, though. I will say 2-2 for this one, I reckon. So we'll see what happens. On Saturday, next game to cover is going to be SC Freiburg taking on Hamburg. Hamburg, again, as we're kind of describing half a season so far, almost half a season, they took a little bit of time and then settled into the league. Similar about scoring goals, they've struggled with that, and we saw the likes of Glatzel get a few minutes and then unfortunately get injured. So there's still questions about that. Freiburg are at home and are a strong home side, and they go well against teams that they generally speaking should beat. So I have them, favourites for this one to get the win. So I will call a 2-0 home win for the SCF.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting game, this one. It's definitely one that's going to get, Bundesliga purists excited with two fantastic clubs going head-to-head with each other. I think both teams come in on good form as well. Both teams had really, really good final kind of sprints in 2025. Hamburg, obviously, with a couple of real marquee wins, didn't they? They got, that really good win over Bremen in the Nord Derby, which was probably the one that really stands off the page for them. They also finished with a very decent point at home against SGE Frankfurt. They could have won that game as well. They had one very, very narrowly disallowed quite late on that game. So they come in good form, really. Freiburg also, they finished with 4 points from games against Dortmund and Wolfsburg away. So let's not forget the Wolves also came in form going into that game. So it's 4 impressive points. The back amongst the goals, I think the likes of Derisha Hunt, I'd still like to see him get a few more starts for the team. But it's good to see the likes of Nicholas Bester, even though I still don't think he's scored yet, has he, for them? But he's definitely got back into more creative form this season for them.
Yeah.
So, I think it's a tough one because, as you say, Rory, they normally win those games, but they have come a cropper a couple of times this season against teams that are expected to beat. I just feel as though Hamburg, they've got a stable 11 now, and they look ready to go and have a really good second half of obviously, a lot of people say it's not quite the Rückrunde yet because it's only round 15, so we can't quite call it the Rückrunde, but I think they're ready to have a good end of the Hinrunde going into the Rückrunde. So I've gone for a 1-1 draw here. I think they will get a point on the trip down to Breisgau.
Okie doke. And then we have Werder versus Hoffenheim. Mark, lead us through this one. The away side, no doubt, starters' favourites.
Yeah. I mean, it's another one of those kind of tradition versus company club derbies. But derbies, I'll say there's definitely not a derby this game. I guess there's like 300 miles at least between these two teams geographically. I think as for the game, you've got to be looking at the away side, who were extremely impressive, in my opinion, in the Hinrunde. Well, in 2025 anyway, pretty much through the whole 2025, because they did have a good. This time last year, they were bottom. Let's not forget that. They were really, really struggling at the bottom of the league. And many people thought they were going to get relegated. And Christian Ilzer deserves credit for what he's done there.
Yes.
Obviously, they finished with that. They got a really good, gritty 0-0 at Stuttgart as well, didn't they? Which was one. It's not really the kind of performance we've seen from the TSG this season. Mostly it's been about them scoring goals, also conceding goals. But for me, that was a really strong point. They didn't really offer much in attack, but to keep Stuttgart out in that game against a potential top 4 rival, that was a really big point for them, actually. And they go well into this game. A team who've done really, really well away from home, only lost once away all season. And they're going to look at this Bremen team who finished the Rückrunde absolutely horrendously, by the way. They were awful, the back end. So I definitely looking at the away team to get a 2-0 win here in Bremen.
Yeah, I line up with you there. 2-0 scoreline for me for TSG to continue their good form into the new year. Next up, we have a game that, too pretty on the eye, but who knows? It's Union Berlin taking on Mainz 05. Naturally, the Berlin side go into this in much better, stead than the visitors. Mainz had a dreadful end to 2025. Find themselves obviously bottom of the table. Not adrift, but it's not been pretty watching. 8 points from 15 games. Huge issues all over the place. Obviously, the change of head coach, the discipline has been, awful. Really, really, really bad. Union will be feeling good about themselves. They're in 8th place. They're still a little bit adrift of that top 7, and I consider that top 7 the best 7 in the league. I don't see that changing, but the likes of Union and Freiburg will want to try and disturb that. So a home win for Union would go a long way. I will therefore not call a home win. I'm going to sit on the fence and say a draw. I think Mainz desperately needs to start the new year in some sort of positivity. So yeah, I'll say scrappy 1-1 draw.
Yeah, it's quite a tough one to tip this because it's clearly a much bigger game for the away side, who come into this after a wretched return of just 8 points from 15 games in 2025. But let's not forget the kind of return to the Bundesliga of Urs Fischer. And we've got to mention that he's going back to the club where he made a name for himself as well. So there's definitely a lot of subplots in this game with Urs Fischer visiting Union yet again. They did draw the 2 games, but they were both complete polar opposite kind of draws. Like, obviously, you've got the draw at Bayern, which was a stellar result, really, for them. They almost won there, let's not forget. But then they followed that up with an utterly uninspiring 0-0 draw against St. Pauli on the last day of the season, so of 2025 season.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you don't quite know where they are, and only 1 win from 15 is just wretched numbers. And they've got to target this kind of game to win if they're going to stay up this season, because they're already a bit cut adrift at the minute. As for Union, they finished like a train in the back end of 2025. They produced, for me, the most complete performance of the season to deservedly and comfortably beat Leipzig in the last home game 3-1. And then they followed that up with a kind of backs to the wall gritty win in Cologne as well, which was also a pretty impressive result. Mm-hmm. So they definitely finished well. The slap bang mid-table on 21 points. But I am going to go for an Union win. I think the way they played in those last 2 games has given me kind of renewed belief in Union. And I still feel as though Mainz need to convince me that they've got enough goals in that team. So I'm going to go for a 1-0 Union win in this one.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Also on Saturday afternoon, we have St. Pauli taking on the aforementioned RB Leipzig, who go travelling up north to Hamburg. Mark, again, talk us through this one with another very strong-looking favourite from an away point of view.
Yeah, I mean, most people are going to be looking at Leipzig to win this one relatively comfortably, but let's not forget that Jan Diamande is away at the AFCON, he's been one of the stars of the whole season and also one of the stars of the AFCON so far as well, so he's going to be a big loss. We could see the likes of Bakayoko come back into the team, who's probably not had quite the impact people expected him to. As for Pauli, I mean, yeah, they obviously got that monkey off the back and ended the winless run with 4 points from the last 2 games. But it has to be remembered that they were against are probably the 2 worst teams in the league at the moment, Heidenheim and Mainz. So you've got to take that with a pinch of salt, maybe. So I am going to back the RB, even though they had a poor end to 2025 as well. They obviously lost that game against Union as well. So I do feel as though Leipzig will get the win 2-0 in this one.
2-0. Okie doke. I will say 3-1 away win for Leipzig. Last Saturday afternoon game is Heidenheim taking on FC Koeln. Naturally, for Heidenheim, home games are what they're trying to target, and will try to target for the rest of the season. They finished with those back-to-back defeats after two really good wins, and we were talking about them, and them and Frankie Schmidt being really effective with their substitutions and having impacts that way. Obviously, losing against Bayern the last game of 2025 expected, but the loss to Pauli would have been and was disappointing. For that sake. So, they come into it obviously with optimism that they can use their home form, albeit they've only won once in their last 5. At home, Koeln, on the other hand, they've struggled on the road this season, and their form has obviously dropped off a little bit since their excellent start to life back in the Bundesliga. Thing for this one, though, they will look to get the 3 points. It's been 4 or 5 games, or maybe 6 games since they picked up a win, that great 4-1 win against HSV. So they do need it from a table point of view, and just to kind of solidify themselves, because they've dropped down to 11th place. They don't want to get too involved with conversations from a relegation point of view, but even 15th placed Augsburg are only 2 points off them, so it is really tight still, isn't it? I will back the away side to get a result. I think it could be one of these crazy endings that we get in the Bundesliga to a match. I will say 2-1 away win for the Billy Goats.
Yeah, I mean, as you correctly said, Rory, that the Billy Goats really fell off a cliff edge the back end of 2025, and I think they needed the end, really, with only 2 points from the last 6 fixtures. The goals dried up, and obviously conceding that late winner at home against Union, which is a game they'd have looked to get at least a point from, really, was a real kind of sour end to what had been a good, especially the start, where they looked really electric at times, didn't they, with that start? But if they lose this game, they go to, Heidenheim would go to within just 2 points of Koeln. So it is a big game. Some would argue it's the biggest game of the weekend, really, for both teams, this one, because Heidenheim, I still feel as though played really well the back end of the hin. For me, I wouldn't worry at all, really, about the 4-0 loss against Bayern. I think they were desperately unlucky to lose against Pauli. Like, they had so many chances in that game and should have got at least a point from that one. So I'm actually going to go reverse of you, Rory. I've gone for a 2-1 Heidenheim win. I'm still a little bit confident for Heidenheim that they could even get third bottom at the minute, the way they finished that season. And yeah, I've gone for a 2-1 FCH win here. Seems like I'm tipping FCH to win quite often at the minute, which is almost crazy, really. But yeah, I've gone for them to win the game.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of our prediction show. We can disagree. It's allowed. It's fine. We will see who comes out on top. Lovely stuff. Just moving on then to the top spiel on Saturday. Looks like a good game. I think this obviously the reason why it's been put as the top spiel is between Bayer Leverkusen and VfB Stuttgart. Again, puts 2 teams inside the top 6 against each other. Stuttgart being 6th and Leverkusen up in 3rd place, but only 3 points separate them. Mark, so do you want to lead us through this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good-looking fixture, obviously. Let's not forget Leverkusen finished the year with that kind of notable 3-1 win at Leipzig as well. So that was a really good way to end 2025 for them. They have suffered a little bit from inconsistency this season, which is normal. Obviously, it's a new manager, Kasper Hjulmand. But overall, he's done well, really. I mean, they won 9 games out of 15. And I think under him, they won 9 out of 13 as well, which is really good. Because let's not forget, they didn't win in the first 2 games under Erik ten Hag, did they? So that's very good going. 9 out of 13 is easily Champions League form. And, a win here, and they're going to be looking really hot for Champions League, which a lot of people didn't tip them to do. Stuttgart, again, I think it's been a positive season overall. They find themselves in sixth currently.
Yeah.
But my worry about them is that they've not really won against the big teams yet. That's the problem. And I think that is an issue. Obviously, this has been a fixture which has absolutely served up some brilliant clashes in the last 2 or 3 seasons. For me, it's probably been my favourite fixture of the last 2 or 3 seasons. Obviously, we don't quite know whether it's going to be as good this year with a Leverkusen side who are probably a little bit more pragmatic, you would say, and more like set play based and under Alonso. But sorry to break it to you, Rory, but I've gone for a Leverkusen win here. I think the setup to win this one, I've gone for a 3-1 Leverkusen win here.
3-1. Oof, okay then. Yeah, no, I think it should be a good game. And you're right to recall although very painfully, those classic games, which Leverkusen got the better of Stuttgart on many occasions, usually late in the day, and they're usually great games. So I remember them fondly because they were great entertainment, maybe not so the results. I do agree. I think, Leverkusen would be looking at this and feeling good about themselves. I also agree that I think Stuttgart have put together a solid and strong season so far. Obviously, it could have been better, but it could have been a lot worse. There's been injuries. There's been the case of rotating between 3 different competitions. So I think, Hoeneß has done as well as he can do in terms of that. He's got it wrong from time to time, I think, but that's normal. So it would be great if Stuttgart could start the season, by not losing. So with that in mind, I'm doing a hopeful prediction of a 2-2 draw. That's more with my heart than my head, I guess. So yeah, we'll see what happens. We're looking forward to that greatly. Sunday then, we've got 2 games. Gladbach Augsburg is first up. We talked a lot about both teams in the first half of the season last year, and both were very well. Initially very negative talks, and then Gladbach had this revival. Then they've been a little bit up and down since. Augsburg, of course, had a really horrible run. Sandro Wagner was also let go. So 2 teams that have gone through change, and rightly so, I think. And Augsburg have been particularly bad on the road. I think with a strong home following, albeit they didn't really turn up the last few home games. I feel like Gladbach will probably get over the line here. So I will go for a 2-1 home win. Don't think it'll be overly pretty or overly convincing from either side. I don't really know what to expect from them, but I'm going with the home form on this one.
Yeah, I think it's a fair tip, Rory, but let's not forget Augsburg historically do well against Gladbach, and they have won on the last 2 trips to Borussia Park as well. And they also did the double over Gladbach last season as well. But that was a different Augsburg, unfortunately, under Jes Torup, a team that were never easy to beat, were they, under Jes Torup? Yeah, you can see that I'm still a little bit bitter about the fact that he was let go, really. Obviously, nowadays it's Manuel Baum, Augsburg, and there were signs of the old FCR back, actually, under his time. Obviously, they beat Leverkusen in what was a marquee result. Then they went away and were unlucky to lose at Frankfurt, really. They had 2 goals disallowed in that one before a pretty uninspiring 0-0 with Werder as well, let's be honest, for both teams in that one. But only 1 goal conceded in 3 games, so I definitely think there is hope for the FCR in this one. But I'm kind of ready to side with you, Rory. I think Gladbach, even though they finished quite poorly, they lost the last 2 games, but they had that good run. And defensively, they look a lot more solid nowadays. And I think it's going to be hard for Augsburg to score because Augsburg just looks so toothless up front this season. They really do in a lot of games. You just can't find a striker. So I've gone, unfortunately, for the FCR. I've gone for a 2-0 Gladbach win in this one.
And finally, just to wrap up, Bayern versus Wolfsburg. Mark, what do we think is happening in this one?
Yeah, well, obviously the champions-elect, so to speak, round up the weekend against a Wolfsburg side who actually massively improved under Daniel Bauer. He deserves a lot of credit. He got the job, by the way, on a permanent. I mean, obviously, it's a kind of permanent in inverted commas because you have to do pretty well to probably keep the job beyond the summer, I would imagine. But he is going to be there for the foreseeable future until the end of the year. They lost that game against Freiburg, just that crazy game, really, the 4-3. But before that, they'd had some real good results. They won at Gladbach very impressively. He had a couple of other wins too under Bauer, so I think he deserves a lot of credit there. But this is going to be a challenge too far against the record Meister, who are probably going to add yet another tally to that record. Bayern, they looked a bit leggy the back end of 2025, but they're going to be fully rested for this, and they're going to win this 3-1 for me.
3-1, I will say 3-0, and that will round us up perfectly with a couple minutes to spare until me and Runa go live. So we'll just quickly summarize. Thank you to everyone who's watched with us this first show, 2026. We're going live in literally seconds for the next one. So Mark, very quickly, just round up for us.
Yeah. If you enjoyed what you saw, don't forget to check us out on podcasts as well. We're not only a YouTube channel as well. Don't forget as well to like, comment, subscribe on our work if you enjoyed it. And also we're on all social medias too, X, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. And we will be getting to more and more games this season, so keep looking out for that. So yeah, Rory's going to get round about a 2-minute break. So yeah, I'm going to let him get going now before he comes on for the fantasy show. Thanks a lot, guys. We're back. 2026 is underway on the Bundesliga show. And Rory will see you again in round about 90 seconds. See you then, guys.
Cheers, guys. Bye.